everyone, I'm Vicky. Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a super easy and delicious pizza recipe for you. This is made using whole grain spelt flour, which is easier on the digestion, lower in calories, just a healthier choice. I am by no means saying that this pizza is completely healthy because I'm going to pile a ton of cheese on it, but spelt flour is a healthier choice when it comes to making the pizza base. So I start out by measuring out 300 grams of the spelt flour, and then I mix in a 7-gram pack of dried fast action yeast. Just by the way, guys, this is actually a Lorraine Pascale recipe, which I will link below. I got it from one of her cookbooks. It's one of my absolute favourites that I've made tons over the last 6-7 years. I just love it. Really recommend you try it, which is why I'm sharing it on here. So I've added some salt, a little salt to the dough base, and I have also popped in some water there as well, just some warm water, and I'm now giving that a good mix with the spoon. So you can start off combining it with the spoon, and then eventually you need to get your hands in there. So you do need to get your hands a little bit dirty with this recipe. And this is just bringing it together in a ball. So stirring it does the initial bit of work for you, but then things sort of start to clog up a bit and you really need to get your hands in just to press all the pieces together. Now at this stage, the dough can often go a little bit flaky, and I don't know if you can see in the bowl, there's a few bits left over at the bottom. So this is partly what I'm using my hands to do, is to press all of those pieces together. You may need to add a tiny bit more warm water, but you mustn't add too much water to this recipe because then the dough goes all soggy. You need it to be reasonably firm. So in the bowl, I'm just squidging that dough together so that it's all combined. And then on the surface, I'll just sprinkle a little bit more of the spelt flour onto the surface there. And then I can start to knead the dough. So you need to knead this dough for 8 minutes. So it's really good exercise for the arms. I don't know about you guys, but kneading things is what's always put me off making bread. It is quite hard work, but these pizzas are so good. This pizza recipe is so nice that I'm willing to put the time in doing the kneading because it does taste really amazing. And what's good about this is you might think like your fingers would be getting all messy, but actually once the water and the flour are all combined, it's actually not that bad at all on your fingers. So that's a good thing at least. So as I said, I need to knead this now for 8 minutes. Worst bit of the entire cooking process, that long bit of kneading. Now I'm adding some dried oregano into the dough. So what I do is flatten the dough out a little and then just sprinkle that oregano onto the top, and then just fold it over to combine, always trying to keep the oregano in the middle, and eventually it just sort of fans out into the dough and sticks into it. But yeah, you just got to be careful that a little pocket doesn't open and it doesn't all fall out. This recipe calls for around 1.5 teaspoons of oregano, which you can knead in all in one go, or you can do it in stages if that's a bit easier. So now my dough's ready. I've just popped it in a bowl and covered it with some cling film. And I'm going to chop up some tomatoes. These are tomatoes on the vine, which I have to say I much prefer to other tomatoes, but just any tomato really will do for this recipe. And what you need to do is just cut it up very roughly, doesn't need to be anything neat. Cut it up into bite-sized chunks. So I'm now going to move on to making the tomato sauce for the pizza base. I've got some passata, just some bog standard passata, and I'm going to measure out about 150 mils of that into a jug. So what's great about this pizza is it's good if you like spice. So to this passata, I'm adding some rose harissa paste. It depends how hot you like your pizza. If you don't want it too spicy, only add 1 teaspoon. I like spice, so I put in 2 heaped teaspoons and then give it a really good stir. Now, of course, if you don't like spice at all, then you can simply not add any harissa paste at all and literally just use the passata. That is entirely up to you and your own personal preference, but it tastes amazing with the harissa paste in it, I have to say. Time to roll out the dough. So in order to divide my dough into 2 equal balls, I literally just kind of karate chop down the middle and get it as roughly right as I can. So I put one to one side and then I'm just going to roll that out with a rolling pin. Again, you might need to dust a little bit more flour on the surface just to make sure that your dough doesn't stick to the surface. Now, obviously you could roll out your dough into a round if you've got a round pizza cooking sheet. I know some people get round cooking pizza stones, things like that. I don't, I've only got baking trays, so I'm rolling it out to fit into my baking trays. But if you prefer a circular pizza and you've got the right thing to put that pizza base on, then you roll it out into a circle. It's just totally up to you. So I've just moved on to the second pizza base now. I'm just going to roll that out and then put that on a baking tray. I line my baking trays with baking paper, just stops them from sticking to the baking trays and tearing the pizza up, which would be a real shame. So I've spread my sauce on evenly over the pizza bases, and I'm now just going to scatter on the chopped up tomato pieces. Just try and get them as even as you can, just scattered randomly over the pizza base. And just remember with the sauce as well to leave a bit of a gap around the edge so that, you know, you can hold on to the pizza slices. You will get a certain amount of spillage because obviously these are thin crust pizzas, but try and leave sort of about a centimetre gap or so. So while that's in the oven for about 5 minutes, this is an addition that I have made to the usual Lorraine Pascale recipe. Her recipe is literally just like a veggie pizza with no added meat or anything on top. I'm adding a little bit of diced up chorizo, which I had left over in the fridge. So all I've done is cut it up into bite-sized chunks, and after that pizza's just had 5 minutes in the oven on a high heat, I'm just scattering that chorizo on top and then returning it to the oven for another 5 minutes. And that will just cook through, and after 5 minutes it will be time to take it out and pop the mozzarella cheese on. Now, I use full fat mozzarella cheese. If you want to make this a little bit healthier, you could switch to a lower fat mozzarella cheese. I buy 2 bags of 125 gram mozzarella balls, and that is always plenty. And I also get a couple of like bits that I can pick at then as well and eat while I'm cooking, because you've got to eat while you're cooking, like it's the rules. So I'm going on with the mozzarella now. That's had another 5 minutes in the oven after the chorizo went on. I'm going to scatter the mozzarella evenly on top. I've cut it up into small chunks there. I'm going to divide it evenly between the 2 pizzas, and then that will go back into the oven for another 5 to 10 minutes, or however long it takes to go golden brown. So this is kind of like a crucial phase, so you need to really watch it, because these pizzas can suddenly catch and start to go overcooked. So just keep a close eye on it when it goes back in the oven to brown off that cheese on top. minutes, this is what you get. I mean, look at that. It is, honestly, it tastes as good as it looks. It is such a delicious pizza. I think adding the chorizo on top just obviously adds another like dimension to it. You could add whatever things you would like to. We didn't have any basil today, but if you've got some fresh basil leaves, then those taste amazing on top. And then all that's left to do is just slice it up and eat it. So guys, I really hope this has given you good inspiration for a weekend treat, and I will see you on the next upload. Take care guys, bye.